topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good afternoon, Dallas-Fort Worth, my hometown. This is the Ask the Expert show. I'm your host for the next hour, Steve-O, and we have got two great experts on with us this hour. Boy, if you've ever been in an automobile accident and you get hurt, you definitely don't want to miss today's show. Or maybe you're walking in, I guess, Tom Thumb is still in Dallas. I guess so. Walking down the aisle and you slip. We're going to educate you by one of the finest personal injury attorneys in Texas. Let me introduce you to attorney Mark Underwood. Hey, Mark.
Steve-O, how's it going today on this?
Hey, buddy. Is it hot there?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's 101,155 degrees, according to the news.
Wow, it is a scorcher this summer, isn't it?
It has been bad all summer, and I think it's only going to get worse. You know, hey, when I first moved to Texas, we had 100 days out of 104 days of 100-degree temperatures. And that was
wow.
2011. And, you know, it hasn't been that bad since, but it's getting awfully close.
Wow, unbelievable. I know my relatives keep telling me about how hot it is there. And it's always hot in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the summertime. But from what I understand, this is just a crazy, crazy summer. We're here in Florida. This is hurricane season for us. And you're from the Virginia area, so you know about hurricanes also.
Well, you know, I'm from West Virginia originally, and we really don't get too much in the way of hurricanes in West Virginia because the mountains protect most of the state. A little bit of it over there by Washington, D.C. does, but the rest of the state, not too bad. We just have to deal with the wind and the rain and the snow.
Well, Mark, I just, when we were coming on, I was telling everybody, I think you're one of the finest personal injury attorneys in the state of Texas. Tell people about yourself and your firm.
Well, so, hey, I've been out of law school now for about 33 years. Graduated in 1980.
You do not look it.
Yeah, let me tell you, I feel every bit of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been out of law school about 33 years. Graduated in 1989, practiced law for about 5 years in downtown Los Angeles. Got this crazy idea that I wanted to move back to West Virginia, where I was from, and run for office, and ran for the state legislature there when I was about 30 years old, got elected, spent a term in the state legislature. And at that point in time, I decided it was time to start my own law firm. And just kind of built the practice from literally not even having a single case to what we're doing today. Somewhere along the way, we got involved in representing people who have been affected by some of the major disasters in the country. And we've got a whole series of cases that we've done over the years that have their own Wikipedia pages. And in 2012, we started the office here in Texas to work on the West Texas fertilizer plant explosion cases. and we've been here ever since. And we got this. A lot of people like to say, I got to Texas as fast as I could.
Mark, you've really worked on some really big cases, but you also do the small ones too.
We do. And, we've got a few different lawyers in the firm, and some of the younger lawyers will handle some of the small cases while we work as a team on the bigger cases.
Well, we have, in the last couple of months, have asked our audience to write us their questions, which I was shocked how many we got the first month. I'm even more shocked how many we got this month. If you have a question, though, for Mark, you're watching on the TV, you can actually go to our chat line and ask a question there, or you can go and hit my phone and give me a question. 954-336-3767. And any subject regarding personal injury law is on board. We're going to go to Barry first in Lake Highlands. He said, I'm trying to get my Social Security disability benefit. Should I get an attorney? And how do I know I qualify for benefits?
Okay, great. Two great questions. Of course, I believe everybody in Social Security disability cases should get a lawyer. The approval rates when you have a lawyer are dramatically better than if you don't have a lawyer. Of course, in Social Security disability in the last 7, 8, 9 years, it's gotten much more difficult to get if you are under the age of 50. But, we would be happy to talk to you about it. Natalie Hall in my office is a Social Security disability specialist. Of course, you can call us at 844-UNDERWOOD or local 972-535-6377. When you first apply, about 98% of the people applying for Social Security disability are denied initially. And then you do what's called a request for reconsideration. And then probably about 90% of the people that are requested reconsideration are denied. Then you request a hearing. And if you go to a hearing with a lawyer, your odds aren't too bad if you're above the age of 50 and you have some serious medical conditions or psychological conditions. But the people that go in there without being represented don't really fare that much better. So, a lawyer is going to be compensated up by 25% of your back pay, not to exceed $7,000 by law. Cannot be more than that. So, there's a lot of good Social Security disability lawyers out there in Dallas, Texas. I'd suggest getting one. If you want to talk to us, we're happy to talk to you.
Beautiful. This is from Grant in Plano. Mark, I've been listening to your show. Love the show. What happens when a person is in an automobile accident and the injuries don't occur until later on? How do you come back on that?
Well, the injury is usually going to happen on the day of the auto accident. You just might not be feeling it yet.
Okay.
The actual damage to the tissue occurred during the accident, but it many times takes a couple days for swelling and inflammation to occur, and that will start causing you the pain rather than how you feel immediately after the accident. Of course, also sometimes immediately after the accident, you're in shock and you have such an adrenaline rush that you don't feel it. So it's usually most of the time people feel worse a day or 2 days after a car crash than on the day of the crash. Well, so the next part of that question implied is, well, what if I don't go to the doctor immediately? What if I don't hurt for a couple of days. I hope and pray that I'm going to get better, and I don't get better. And I go to the doctor a week, 2 weeks, or a month afterwards. Well, those cases, depending upon the type of injury, those cases can be more difficult, but they definitely don't preclude you from recovering. It's not unusual at all for somebody to hope they feel better when they've been in a car crash and ultimately not feel better. In fact, they get worse and then go to the doctor. And I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't,
is there any kind of a statute of limitations, Mark?
In Texas, you've got a 2-year statute of limitations. So it's very rare that, somebody's going to be in a car crash and not going to know they're injured for 6 months, a year, 2 years. But, even if you, under some set of circumstances, you don't know you're injured for a long time, there is what's called the discovery rule, which can allow you to get around the statute of limitations. But, typically they're going to say that you had knowledge of the car crash and any potential injuries at that time. So you have 2 years from when that occurs to file suit.
I had a expert who knew you were coming on the show, and he wanted me to ask you, we always give your phone number. He wanted to know, sometimes you go to the doctor and they say you're fine, and then 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, this injury pops up. And you remember how you got it, but it took longer to where you were really in pain. What do you do in that case?
Yeah, so it's not unusual, especially with brain injuries, for you're in a car wreck, you go to the emergency room immediately. They do x-rays only, and the x-ray doesn't show a fractured skull. Maybe they do a CT scan, which might show a fracture, but it doesn't show the what's called the coup and contra coup of a brain injury and what's happened to your brain. So, they look at it, they say you're normal, they send you home. Well, you get home that night and you start vomiting in the middle of the night and you can't sleep. And over the next days, weeks, and months, you find yourself being very, very depressed, very weepy, and very emotional about stuff. And it turns out you then go for an MRI, and even better, you go for what's called a 3T MRI. And lo and behold, there actually is a brain injury there. That happens a lot. And one of the main reasons is because the emergency room doesn't want to do every test possible to determine if you have every injury possible. They play the treatment relatively conservatively, and realistically, it doesn't make sense to do a 3T MRI or a 4T MRI or even a more powerful MRI on every single person that comes into the emergency room in a car wreck. But it's not unusual. You have to have a lawyer that's experienced with those types of injuries to see the red flags. One of the things we always ask people: did you throw up? Are you having trouble finding your words? Have you been weepy? Have you been depressed? When we start asking those questions, we have a couple questionnaires that are directed towards what we call a latent minor traumatic brain injury. You got to know to look for them. If you don't look for them, you won't find them.
Mark, I don't understand why a person, let's just say they're in an auto accident. I'll use that for an example. The insurance companies are very good at negotiating. They want to pay you the least amount possible. What I don't understand is you work on a contingency basis.
That's correct.
It means they don't have to write you a check when they sit down with you.
Correct.
You make your money based on performance. Why would someone not want to go in with an attorney against these big, powerful insurance companies? I don't understand.
Well, I guess, Steve, it's like people that want to work on their own car. Sometimes you work on your own car and it works out just fine. Other times your repair just got a whole lot worse. So that's the best way I can describe it.
I told this story many a times. My son thinks he's the number one salesman in the world. He's actually in your part of town, McKinney, Texas, and he got hurt, and he said he's going to handle it himself. Well, I've been doing this long enough, Mark, to know that don't ever do this yourself. But he thought he would save himself some money. After 3 months, and this was over with, he said it was the worst mistake he ever made in his life. So first of all, he admitted it, which was surprising, but it's so true. You're in an accident, the first thing they should do is call Mark Underwood.
Well, I agree. You're my number one promoter.
Oh, I am. Oh, without a doubt, because these auto insurance companies are huge. They get the best attorneys, and most people do not stand a chance negotiating with them. This is what you do for a living.
Well, and
go ahead.
What's changed in, I don't know, the last 10 years is the amount of software programs that the big insurance companies are using to evaluate your claim. It used to be a real live person would look at your medical bills, look at your background, look to see if you'd ever been in any other crashes before, what kind of injuries you'd have, and they'd make an informed decision. Now they run the medical records through a computer, they scan it into a program. The program scans it, searches all the databases, applies some, artificial intelligence, and comes up with a number. And that's the number they're going to give you, unless you're represented by a lawyer who is willing to take the case to trial.
Well, I'm looking at the questions that we got. They're kind of scattered. Here's John in North Dallas. If I'm not able to work, but my spouse is still working, will that keep me from being able to apply for disability benefits?
Okay, another good question. The answer to that question is yes and no.
Okay.
So here's the deal. So if your spouse is still working, it does not prevent you from applying for SSDI. However, if your spouse is still working and or you have assets, a relatively very small amount of assets, it can prevent you from applying for SSI. Okay, SSDI is the government program that you pay into every time you get a paycheck. Okay, so if you worked your whole life, you are qualified, or a bunch of your life, not your whole life, but a lot of your life, you're qualified for SSDI. You can apply for that. It doesn't matter if your spouse is still working. However, if you haven't worked very much in your life, if you haven't paid into the system because you were self-employed and you never gave yourself a paycheck, you just took, cash out of the till. Under those circumstances, you may have not paid enough into SSDI and you're only qualified for SSI. And SSI you cannot get if your spouse has a decent amount basically a small amount of income and you have a small amount of assets. So there are asset limitations and income limitations for SSI. There are not for SSDI. SSDI is the better program. It's the one you want to be applying for.
This is from Barbara in Garland, Texas. She wants to know, I hear you talk about auto accidents. Is the same laws occurred for motorcycle accidents?
Well, the same again, it's a yes and no. I mean, can you ever get a straight answer out of a lawyer? Yes and no. So, the definition of negligence is going to be the same, whether it's automobile or motorcycle. There are, of course, there are different motor vehicle laws that apply to motorcycles than cars. So I really kind of need a specific example of what law or what issue she's talking about. But in general, there's similar cases, but of course, in motorcycle accidents, almost always the injuries are very bad. I mean, you just don't get out of a motorcycle accident without getting a pretty severe injury.
Yes.
And so the cases are handled different because it's a more severe injury. And, a lot of times we see that motorcycle accidents happen because the drivers of the automobiles aren't paying attention and looking for motorcyclists.
Oh, you got that so right.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that answers her question.
I understand. I kind of understand what she was asking because we're always saying auto accidents. We never say truck accidents or motorcycle or scooter accidents. It's all the same.
Yeah, it's all very similar.
Okay, let's go to Ron in Plano. If I'm in an automobile accident, but I do not get hurt, should I still contact the police and a lawyer?
So yes, you should contact the police. Unfortunately, at least in North Dallas area, McKinney, Allen, Frisco, Plano, the cops are refusing to write reports a lot of times. They'll show up, they'll decide there's not enough damage, and they'll not do anything else. They'll leave. And
wow.
That's a real problem. And of course, the law in Texas, I have to go back and look at the exact number. The law in Texas is something like they have to write a report if there's more than $1,000 or $1,500 worth of damage, unless that's just been changed recently. So, almost any car wreck is going to have more than $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 worth of damages these days, right? I mean, it costs, your tire hits the curb and it costs more than $1,000 to fix these days. But so the police, sometimes they're showing up, looking at the damage and then not doing a report. So what we see happen probably half the time, 50% of the time, if there's not a police report done, we have problems tracking down the person on the other side. We have problems with the insurance company denying who is at fault. We have problems with the at-fault person lying. It is, do anything you can to get a police report. A lot of times, say it happens on a parking lot. Cops will show up and refuse to do it because it's on a private parking lot. But you need to beg and plead to get the officer to do a report. And in fact, it's their responsibility to do a report. But try convincing them to do one if they don't want to do one.
Right. Hey, Mark, give everybody your phone number and your website address.
So, hey, the website address is underwoodlawoffice.com. You can also just go to markunderwood.com. That'll get you there. The phone number, the easiest one to remember, is 844-UNDERWOOD. Again, toll free, 844-UNDERWOOD. The local number is 972-535-6377, or the one we've got scrolling across the bottom will work also.
Mark, it's always a pleasure. Show goes by so fast. We will see you again next month.
How can it be over already?
Thank you, Mark. And we are going to our Houston market after this. After we go to break, we have a great Houston show coming up. If you're in Dallas, you want to stick around for it, you're more than welcome. But got a big show talking about dental. Have one of the greatest dentists in the city of Houston. And we're going to go to break. And when we come back, I've got really one of Houston's coolest dentists. We'll be right back with Dr. Van Slate.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
Hey, hello, Houston. This is the Ask the Expert show. We are with you every week, and we have got a great show for you. We're going to be doing our dental show today with Dr. John Mark Van Slate. He has the Augusta Drive Dental Care. And normally Dr. Slate comes on and talks about how to stop snoring, which I've got to learn how to do that. He's also talks about dental implants, which he does a lot of work in. And today we're going to be talking about cosmetic dentistry. Good afternoon, Mark. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, good.
Man, you got one of these Hollywood looks, John. I'm telling you. If people are watching on TV right now, but looks like we're going to be doing cosmetic dentistry today.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Well, tell people about your practice.
Well, I'm a general practice, been practicing in Houston, kind of just west of the Galleria area in the Tanglewood area, but I'm a general practice. I do just about everything you can imagine, but cosmetic stuff that we're going to be talking about today is really what put me on the map. I love doing the cosmetic stuff, but I do lots of TMJ in our practice and really concentrate in that, and lots of sleep medicine that we had talked about before. We do a lot of sleep medicine, but cosmetics near and dear to my heart for sure.
Well, I got to tell you, there's got to be so many changes that have been made in the last 10 years as in cosmetic dentistry. What are some of those changes?
Well, I will tell you, I think what I see is we're kind of moving. Certainly the porcelains that we're using have gotten stronger and better and more durable. But what I'm saying is there kind of is a push to be very conservative in the cosmetic dentistry that we're doing. We're using lasers a lot more in the dentistry that we're doing that really enhance the cosmetic part. So really good changes. And I think it's really getting to be a much better and a more perfected art than it used to be.
Do you have to go to some kind of classes when there's something new that comes out?
Oh, constantly. I have gone to, I really owe a lot of credit to a place called LVI, which is Las Vegas Dental Institute. I started going there about 23 years ago. And,
Mark, I know why you go there.
Yeah, you go there, you learn, and you learn the best concepts. I've met some of the most incredible dentists, some of the most respected dentists in the world at this place, but you go there to be educated. And I will tell you, if there's anything that happens, it's constantly evolving, and that's why I go there. You have to do that if you're doing cosmetics.
Well, we hear a lot about is teeth whitening.
Yes.
What's the best and most effective way to bleach my teeth?
Well, you know what? I know that bleaching right now, people are bombarded in the market. There's so many bleaching systems right now that can be really confusing. But to tell you the difference really between what we do in the dental offices and what you can get online and things like that is that most of the online systems, they use hydrogen peroxide and the same things we use in the dental office. The difference is we're able to use concentrations that are just stronger and they work faster. So what we can do, we can typically get somebody lighter, sometimes 6 to 8 shades in as little as 1 hour, Steve.
Wow.
Which is pretty remarkable. Where, you might not be able to do that with your home systems, but I will tell you that when other than that, there's a lot of good systems on the market right now, but the main thing with us is you can just get it done a lot quicker and it lasts a lot longer. So some of the systems we use in our dental office are things like Zoom, opalescence, and the core systems, and they're all great. They all get you lighter by 6 to 8 shades pretty easily. But let me tell you the trick, okay? Nobody can go in anywhere and use any product one time and expect to have long-term results. The key to longevity is you have to touch up 2 or 3 times a year. And it's why whenever somebody comes to us for bleaching, we make a tray that they can take home and continue to touch up bleach. And it might be 3 or 4 days for 15 minutes at a time, but you do that. And this is how my patients are able to maintain those beautiful smiles, those lighter smiles for a long time. That's the key.
So about how long do they last, Mark?
You're talking about with how long does the bleach last?
How long does the bleach last?
Well, I would say this. A lot of people will come and we can very quickly, within usually about an hour's time, we can get somebody lighter, reasonably 6 to 8 shades, depending on how dark the teeth are. But a good bleaching typically will start to fade because of the foods we eat and the things we drink in our Western culture. We do so
Which
many.
is my next question.
Yeah, we do so many things to our teeth. So with that being said, I feel like you can get a good bleach that can last up to 6 months, and you'll start to see a little fade. So that's why you really want to be on that touch up. You need to make sure that you're touching up 2 or 3 times a year just to maintain that vibrant color.
How does it work for smokers?
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
And I know you're fixing to ask me the things that cause our teeth to be dark. Well, I tell this, I got it so memorized. I tell it to everybody who walks in the door, but these are the things. Smoking's a big one. If you're smoking, you're going to have yellower teeth. There's no way to avoid it.
Right.
But red wine's a big one. Dark coffee, black coffee, dark teas are always the big deals. Okay. Then you talked about your soy sauces, your tomato sauces, curry, mustards, dark vegetables like your and fruits like your cranberries and blackberries. Anything that can basically stain a white t-shirt can stain your teeth. And I thought something else that's really interesting. When people want a bright smile, if you have a lot of dark silver fillings, especially on your bottom teeth, it's amazing how that detracts from a smile. So sometimes just replacing old metal fillings on the bottom will make your smile immediately turn brighter. So that's another trick that we go over with people a lot.
So let's just say I'm going to have a glass of wine, red wine.
Yes.
What do I do that night?
Well, this is what I'll say. Just realize that if you have a habit of doing that regularly, your teeth are going to fade. The color's going to get darker quicker. Okay. So people who have those habits, they just have to know that they're going to touch up. You have to, if you want to maintain the smile. If you come in and expect to get one bleaching done and it's going to last you 2 or 3 years, it's just not. And I think it's real important for people to know that and understand that no matter what kind of bleaching they're getting done.
Some of these people go into Walgreens or Walmart and they buy these bleaching systems. Are those any good?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you this. Again, they're probably not going to be approved to be the concentration or strength that we use. They use the same thing, just it might take longer to achieve, and they might not get something that'll even last as long as what we're doing. But right now, you can just Google online, and I'll tell you that as far as the over-counter world, I still feel like Crest White Strips. I get more compliments from my patients still on the good old Crest White Strips that it has an adhesive that actually sticks to the tooth. And I think because of that, it keeps the bleach on the tooth. It lasts longer. But man, you can just Google anything right now, and there's so many things on the market. Like there's Gloss Ray, Snow, Glow, but they all use an LED light now. They're all around $100, but you can use an LED light with hydrogen peroxide. And what a lot of my patients do is they may come to me to get that real nice foundation quickly, and then use one of those home bleachers to maintain. So there's a lot of little tricks that we talk about with patients but the bottom line is, that's what you do to get a good white smile.
So a person should come in about every 6 months?
Well, you can come in and to get a lighter smile quickly, to get that base done, okay, where we're lighting you up 6 to 8 shades. After that, it's about maintenance. You may not necessarily have to come to me to get bleaching every time, but there is maintenance with either trays that you'll use routinely just to make sure that you're maintaining the smile. If you go a long period of time, you might want to come in and get another bleaching done in our office just to get a brighter color quickly. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Sure.
So you just got to keep up. You got to keep it up, though.
You have to keep it up.
I think what you're saying is you're going to get them a lot wider than these trays they buy in the store. But if it doesn't fit into their pocketbook, then that would be the second best thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, people have alternatives. You know, it's whatever works. If you want something quick, we're a great option. But there's a lot of ways to bleach your teeth out there.
Okay, I've got a personal question. You got to answer it. Go ahead and be honest.
Okay.
You've been doing cosmetic dentistry for a long time.
Yes.
You have got one of the top reputations in Houston, probably the whole entire Houston area.
Well, thank you.
How do you build up a reputation like that with so many dentists in town?
Well, you know what? I appreciate that, Steve. You know, there's a lot of great cosmetic dentists, so I appreciate that. But what I will tell you again, I owe so much to LVI, like we had just talked about, that institute that I've been going to. I couldn't have accomplished what I have without them. But, you know, for me right now, it's a passion for me, and I still get a thrill. There's nothing better than truly changing a life with cosmetic dentistry. You know, I mean, there's nothing else really that's out there in dentistry that'll do that consistently than being able to really change a smile and watch what it does to people. It's just it's always been a thrill for me, and I love it.
You know, you can tell by your energy how much you love what you do. And there's things that you're so confident on. You know what? If you don't want me to do the whitening, you can go to the store and buy one. So we love your confidence, but I absolutely see why you're considered one of the top cosmetic dentists in the city of Houston. What would you say is if someone said, give me 3 things that's going to make my smile improve? What would you say?
Okay. Well, we went over bleaching, right?
Yes.
What I would say, my answer to that, the best cosmetic thing that we can do is still the porcelain veneer. The porcelain veneers have been perfected over time. But what I do with my patients, Stephen, if I can do that with you, we want to go over our patients what a good smile is, and then compare those with their smile in photographs. So I've got this great photograph, you know, but if we look at what a perfect smile is, that kind of blocks me out, doesn't it?
Yes.
But a good smile, basically, what this is going to be is you want to see to the 2 front teeth are going to be mirror images of each other. Okay. You want to see the lip line up at the top go just over the tops of the teeth. In other words, you don't want to see too much gum tissue. You want to see a nice broad smile where the smile goes out to the edges of. In other words, you don't want to see darkness in here and here. Okay. You want to see the edges of the teeth. This plane should be parallel with the eyes. Okay. And it should follow the lower lip. Okay. So there's a lot of things that go into making a really great smile. And of course, you don't want to see gaps and rotations,
right,
and things like that. You don't want to see this kind of situation where you see these dark triangles between the teeth. You know, you never want to see those things. There's nothing that we have that's better than a porcelain veneer to fix all those issues. The other options are crowns, of course, and you know, crowns, the veneer is so much more conservative because the veneer basically is a thin piece of porcelain that's about, you know, a 0.5 millimeter thick. And I've got one right here. I don't know if you can see this or not, if I can make it look good here, but that's a veneer. Okay, there's your front, and you can see how thin that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a crown covers the whole tooth, whereas a veneer just sits on the front of the tooth. So it's so much more conservative than a crown is. Then there's dental bonding, which is great for a lot of applications, but bonding tends to discolor and wear down much quicker than a veneer was. So, or than a veneer does. So veneers for longevity, they don't stain, they're durable, they look perfect sometimes 15 years later than the day you put them on. There's just nothing better for that. But you know, you talk about me, but I will tell you this: the ace in the hole when we're talking about veneers is you have to work with a phenomenal lab person. Okay, they've got to be a master at doing it because they're delivering the goods for me and my patients. And so it's about me being able to communicate with my lab through a lot of photographs and letting the lab know, hey, this is the length that I want. And they build these beautiful proportional teeth that I can't do without them. Okay. And another thing that we'll do with a lab, and what's very important, this is called a wax up, Steve. You see how that looks? Now that right there, those teeth are in wax right now. Okay.
Okay.
Every veneer case that I do, we do a wax up. A wax up will basically put the teeth in ideal proportions and make it look exactly like the veneers will look. So it's kind of like I get to do the case before I do the case. It'll show me exactly where I've got to adjust the teeth, and I can make the temporaries off of that. This is imperative. I won't do a veneer case without a wax up. But the key is lab helps me do all this. And
how long does the process take?
Well, that's a great question. Typical veneers are, you can get a veneer case done in as little as 3 weeks with my practice. Now, the part of that is getting the photographs, getting the wax up, making the temporaries. Then it usually takes, on a typical veneer case, about an hour and a half in our office to prepare the teeth and make temporaries. And then you come back 2 to 3 weeks later and we put the veneers on. So it can be a pretty short process time-wise. It doesn't take months and things like that, but there's planning that goes into these things that you have to follow the protocol and the planning. And if you do that, you get amazing and very natural results.
Look at this. Someone wants to know, Dr. Van Slyke, do you do orthodontic work?
Yes, we do. We do Invisalign in our practice. And I'll tell you, that's a great question. If somebody has a lot of horrible crowding, it's really, really smart to go through orthodontics first to level and align the teeth. Because if you got teeth that are really crowded and I can level them back out, that means I don't have to do much reduction to the teeth. And our goal should always be the least amount that we do to the teeth, the better. So orthodontics is a huge adjunct to make sure that I can be more conservative and do sometimes a much better job with what I do with cosmetics.
Just got another text. Why is it some people look their teeth brightening looks fake because it's too white?
I love that question, because here's my thing. Teeth should look natural. Okay.
Yes.
Here's the problem that I see with a lot of veneer cases that I have seen is that no teeth are one color, right? Our teeth are a blend of colors. So whenever you're doing a porcelain veneer, you don't want to make them monochromatic. You don't want to look like it's one color coming at you. It doesn't look natural. So you absolutely have to have a multiple of colors in all these veneers. And again, that's where the lab guy and the technique comes in. And, another thing that I see that when we're talking about prepping a veneer, I want to be real clear. You want to be very conservative, but you do have to prep the veneers to get the look you want, or prep the teeth to get the look you want many of the time. And what I see is another problem. If you under prep, the teeth will look bulky, or they'll have ledges on them that don't look natural. And so again, there's just protocols you have to do, and you have to follow them. And if you do it, you're going to get a natural result. You're going to get a really good looking result. And I take pride in, a lot of my patients say, man, they look so natural, I can't tell. So that's our goal.
Dr. Van Slyke, why is it that some people, they show a lot of gum tissue when they smile? What causes that?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a developmental issue. This is something that, for whatever reason, when we're developing, some people will show more gum tissue on a big smile. Ideally, when you smile, you really don't want to show gums. Kind of like this picture right here. You don't see the gum tissue there. So if you have 2 millimeters of gum showing above your teeth, we call that a gummy smile. So that brings me up to that laser question. We use lasers all the time in our practice and in cosmetic dentistry. Matter of fact, even if I don't touch a tooth, I still will use a laser just to go in there. And with a laser, what we do is we're going to use this up here on those gums to trim and round out the gums nice and, to make those look beautiful, and also to make the two sides look symmetrical. Okay. You want both sides to look the same. So lasers do that for us. And I tell you what, I could not do cosmetic dentistry without a laser. The gums frame the teeth. And if that frame doesn't look right, if the gums aren't symmetrical, there's no way the teeth are going to look right. So that's That's a great
You're
question.
almost like an artist, Dr. Van Slate.
Well, there's a lot of artistry in the cosmetic world for sure.
Wow, that is amazing. And we learned today that you do, you don't just do, we mostly been talking about dental implants and sleep apnea. You do so many other things. I didn't know you did orthodontic work.
Yeah. It's the orthodontic part, the Invisalign part is just an adjunct to the cosmetic dentistry. It just, people got.
You like Invisalign?
What's that?
Do you like Invisalign?
I do like Invisalign. Invisalign, there's a huge, because mostly, they're invisible for one, but they're quick. You can the typical Invisalign case may take you 8 to 10 months instead of the conventional 2 years. And you can make, a lot of times people will come to me with decent looking teeth that just need to be put in the right place and bleach them. And that's what they need. That's their cosmetic treatment.
Well, here's the last text of the day. Great show. Do you do pediatrics also?
Yes. Now I will. Yes. Matter of fact, I saw a child today, and yes, we do pediatrics. But of course, the bulk of my patients are going to be adult patients. But I do see a lot of kids in our practice.
Well, you've got, like I said, at the beginning of the show, you've got this incredible practice. Give everybody your phone number.
The phone number is 281-886-3164, and that's in Houston. So it's 281-886-3164.
And you've got a great website.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
What's your website address?
It's drvanslate.com.
Well, Dr. Van Slate's with us every month here for Houston. He will be back with us again in August. And Dr. Van Slate, we really, really are blessed to have you. You're just a wealth of information. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely, Steve. It's always good visiting with you. I know that.
Same here, buddy.
All right, man. Have a great day.
Dr. Van Slate, he is I'm telling you, this guy is the top dentist in the city of Houston. And he always does our youth show every month. We're so glad to have him. We'll be back again next week with more Ask the Experts. Have a wonderful week. See you soon.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.